top 3 issues and why?
So my top 3 issues for KISD are restoring fiscal responsibility, improving employee welfare, and improving student test scores. Specifically, we need to restore fiscal responsibility. My opponent and this board have wasted the money that the taxpayers gave them for the first bond. They have misappropriated and misused M&O funds to the point where now, less than 2 years after giving them almost $500 million, they're asking for another $250 million. So my number one goal is to defeat this bond and restore fiscal responsibility to the board. Employee welfare, for too long, the board has picked buildings over employees by spending money on the strategic fund instead of giving it towards employee raises. And it's one of the prime reasons why we had a bus driver shortage last year, why we have a teacher shortage this year, and why over 50% of our teachers have less than 5 years of experience in the district. And then finally, we need to improve our student scores because in every area except math, we are behind on the state average, comparable districts, and our local districts that we compete with. We need to do better, and that's why I'm running.
Name one goal you want to accomplish within your first year.
So I have a lot of things I'd like to get accomplished in the first year with my fellow trustees. However, I think the biggest thing that we need to do, and I'd like to get accomplished, is for the district to have a real strategic facility plan. Right now, they have a list. They have a one-page document that's basically a list of projects, good ideas. There is no strategic plan that outlines KISD vision, goals, sets criteria for why we build buildings, when we build buildings, when we renovate buildings, what we spend our money on. It's one of the reasons why we're spending and wasting money on projects repeatedly, and that we're in this dilemma that we have yet another $250 million bond within 2 years of having a $500 million bond.
The current school board voted to place the $265 million bond on the May ballot. What is your view on the bond, and will you be voting for or against it?
Surprise, surprise. I'm against the bond. I will be voting against the bond. And it's really important and probably a little ironic that considering I'm the bond guy, and yet I'm against this bond, should be very telling. I was the person last year, I was the candidate last year who stated that a second bond was inevitable because of the mismanagement of funds and the misplacement of priorities by my incumbent opponent and his fellow trustees. And I was the person in 2018 when the first bond was being passed that said it didn't address all the needs. So I'm the bond guy, and I'm against and I believe bonds are the way we're supposed to build buildings, but that doesn't mean we should support a bad bond. And this is a bad bond because it wipes out all of the tax relief that the legislature gave us. It builds $80 million worth of projects that are unnecessary. Those particularly being the Ellison High School $35 million renovation that does nothing for classroom improvement. It's focused strictly on administrative areas and a new lunchroom. And the $45 million Peebles remodel that can be avoided by just moving the Peebles folks into the East Ward location. 35% of Peebles is already headed to the new facility in 2022 when it opens. By moving the entire school, the district can save $45 million. Now that leaves West Ward in play, but West Ward is perfectly suitable building. It has 0 portables, and it is perfectly acceptable for instruction.
What should Killeen ISD do to improve standardized test scores?
So in order to improve standardized test scores, one of the things we shouldn't be doing is just blanket approving classroom waivers. This board has approved 32 classroom waivers four of which are for schools that were rated as a D or an F on the latest TEA ratings. Packing kids into a classroom, overpacking, I should say, kids into a classroom is not the way to improve test scores. Another way to improve test scores is maybe instead of budgeting $10 million annually of maintenance and operation funds into the strategic fund so we can build buildings, maybe we should take that $10 million and put it in the classroom where it's designed to be, in the way of employee pay or resources for students to learn. $10 million is not going to solve the problem, but it goes a long way to putting resources where our problems are. And that's what we should be doing instead of taking $10 million off the top to build buildings.
The Killeen School Board holds many closed-door meetings, including one on naming a new school. How would you help KISD be more transparent?
So, again, this board has made it very clear that they don't want public input. They have a lot of closed meetings. They limit public input to 3 minutes during their board meetings. What I would do is I would open that up. I would expand the time for the public to comment. I would hold public hearings, forums. It's amazing when they did that with the school zoning issues. They got a lot of good feedback from parents, and they actually made an adjustment based off of that input. But for too many items, especially items that resolve around money, this board has an elitist, to the victor go the spoils kind of attitude. They do not want public input. They do everything they can to diminish public input, and that's just not right. The Killeen School Board positions are called trustees. That means they are put in a position of trust to act on behalf of the public. The only way you can act on behalf of the public is if you have conversations with the public. You do that by expanding the time that the public has to talk to you in a board, and not just talk to you, but to have a conversation. Currently, it's a 3-minute one-way conversation, and the board doesn't react. Why can't we have a 5-minute conversation? Why can't we have a hearing, a forum where people can come and tell you what's on their mind so that you can make an informed decision as a trustee? That's what I do.